Hey y'all, welcome to our fifth episode of Unlocking Saints, where we talk about one saint each week and unlock the message they've got for us. Our saint for today is Saint Francis Xavier. It's his feast day today too, so happy feast of Saint Francis Xavier everyone. Saint Francis Xavier was born on the 7th of April 1506. He was born to the richest family in the kingdom. Sadly, he lost his dad when he was only 9 years old. At the age of 19, he went to study at a university in Paris. In March 1530, he completed his philosophical studies and obtained a Master's of Arts degree. It was right there that he met two of the most important people in his life. They influenced his life hugely. One of them was his roommate named Pierre, who then introduced him to the other, whose name was Ignatius of Loyola. Yup, these two saints were now friends. Pierre told Francis that he had chosen to become a priest, and even though Francis thought that was amazing for Pierre, when Ignatius asked him to consider the same, Francis responded that he'd like to become a professor instead because he loved to teach. But even though he responded this way, the question rested in his mind for many days. He pondered on how Ignatius gave up his rich and luxurious life to choose a life of poverty and preach about Jesus. The longer Francis listened to Ignatius' teachings, the more he was inspired by him and eventually said yes to the calling and became a part of the Ignatian order, which is known as the Society of Jesus, more commonly known as the Jesuits. There were a total of 7 people who founded it: Ignatius, Francis, Pierre, and 4 other members. Together they were devoted to serving God and spreading the message of the gospel. They also took the vows of chastity and poverty and made a pilgrimage to Jerusalem. The Christian faith in the Portuguese settlements of India seemed to be dying out. They were losing their faith in God. King John was very impressed by the Jesuits and their work, so he decided to speak to Ignatius to send someone there to revive their faith. And after getting the Pope's approval and a meeting with Ignatius, they decided to send 2 of the Jesuits to India, Father Nicholas and Father Simão. But so it happens that they had fallen sick, and so Father Francis was sent instead. So Francis left on the 7th of April 1541 on his 35th birthday. After a long travel, they finally reached Goa on 6th May 1542. They started their work in India by preaching to the sick people of Goa for about 6 months. The smile on Francis's face, his zeal, enthusiasm, and cheerful attitude made the people like him very much. He'd go around the villages ringing a bell, a way in which he'd call the little children to join for catechism classes. He'd then take these little kids to the nearby church and teach them catechism and prayers. He taught them so well that he made them into little disciples of Christ, who in turn went and preached about God to their friends. Father Francis would do anything to help his people. Once he even faced a band of raiders. He had no weapon, yet he stood in front of them. Just as God always is there for his faithful, the raiders just up and left, which was pretty awesome. Eventually, Father Francis traveled to Kerala, where he met people who did not have a church to worship in. So Francis decided to help the people construct 40 churches there, while also converting many people to Christianity. Father Francis also traveled to Malaysia. During one of his travels by ship, he lost his crucifix due to a storm. This made him very upset, and he begged God for him to get it back. And just as God loves to do miracles in the lives of his devout, the very next day when Francis was sitting at the beach, there was a crab that walked up to him. And his lost crucifix was attached to that crab. Next level, right? God, you are so awesome. This amazed the people so much, and glory was given to God. Once reaching Malaysia, he used the same methods he used in India to bring people closer to God. He then traveled to Japan and preached there too, while also constructing churches as well. After a long desired wait, he traveled to China to preach to the people there. But before he could make it there, he fell sick and died. This was at the age of 46. In 1553, his body was shipped to Goa and kept in the Basilica of Bom Jesus. Saint Francis Xavier's body is still there, completely intact without decay. It's kept in a casket that's exposed to the public for a few weeks every year. So, our unlock for today's saint is, no matter what your earthly desires may be, God has a calling specially for you. to grow his kingdom and bring people to Christ. And if you allow him, he will turn your calling into your desire. He did it to Francis, which made him travel to far off places, leaving the life of luxury to choose a life of poverty. And though we may look at poverty as a bad thing in today's world, that never stopped Francis. Instead, he was always smiling and cheerful, which brought even more people to listen to him about Jesus. Also, he thirsted for God so much that when he lost something near and dear to him, he begged God for it back. This desire created a miracle. Your desire and longing for Jesus will turn into miracles too. The miracle of his life continues on today, and his body remains without decomposing, which goes against the laws of science and proves our God is very real and truly, truly so awesome. Let us choose calling over desire. Let us choose smiling over regret. Let us make the spreading of the message of Christ our number one priority. And in the midst of it all, let our awesome God work a miracle in your life too. And let him unlock the saint in you.